But people like us who got a chance to see Joe Flacco
Sure.
up close and personal in that AFC North knew that all you need to do is give Joey Flacco a chip and a chair.
Yep.
Weirdest team in the league. 4 different quarterbacks, game-winning drives. I think they're well coached. I like their personnel, and I think they could win a playoff game. I would not want to face them in the first round. Cleveland 10.
The Cleveland Browns really do have a chance to win it all, and as much of a joke some of you would think that saying is, everything is just going right for this team this year, and they have one of the easiest schedules remaining in the league, and if they win out, believe it or not, they could be the 1 seed in the AFC and get a bye week. I know I've been talking a lot about this team lately, so I'm going to switch things up and talk about some different things. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind, and your support truly does mean the world. Alright, so first, I want to start out with what the Browns have gone through to get to this point, because this season has truly been crazy. So starting out in week 1, people were very excited about this team, but nobody really knew what to expect. I think everyone knew that this team had a talented defense, but under Joe Woods, it was just atrocious. And with Jim Schwartz being brought in, you knew something was going to change. And there was a ton of hype with Deshaun Watson finally having a full offseason with this team under his belt. And after bringing in more weapons around him, everyone was so excited to see what was to come. And the Browns opened up at home in week 1 against the Bengals and put together a completely dominating performance. It just seems like the Browns own Cincy, and heading into Pittsburgh in week 2, most people expected another big performance to follow up week 1. But in typical Pittsburgh fashion, they found a way to steal a win in a game they never should have won. And Minkah Fitzpatrick of course ended Nick Chubb's season with a cheap headshot tackle, which really altered Cleveland's game plan for the rest of the season. Following up this game, the Browns bounced back against the Titans, but then had to face the Ravens without Watson in DTR's first start of the season with only 24 hours of notice, and man, it was awful, and Cleveland got shellacked. But then they bounced back and got 2 wild wins against the 49ers and Colts, and those 2 games is where it started to feel like this team was destined to do something, because they had no reason to win. And they should have even beat the Seahawks, but that was a game to me that was on Kevin Stefanski, because Kareem Hunt was not involved enough in the 4th quarter. After this, Cleveland had a super easy game against the Cardinals without Kyler Murray, and the defense had their best game of the season, shutting them out. And after this, the Browns played the game of their life against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and in a comeback win, Watson played a basically perfect second half, and D-Hop won the game with a last-second field goal. But the next morning, all Browns fans woke up to the news that Watson would be out for the season, and it didn't even feel real. It was literally the most Browns moment ever, and it felt like they just went from being on top of the world to now being a team that might finish 500. But the Browns then signed Joe Flacco to the practice squad, and this was a move that nobody really thought much of. It was more like signing another coach to help out the young QBs. But then DTR was out due to a concussion, so Flacco got the start against the Rams, and then the rest was history. He played a pretty good game against LA, even with the loss, and it was impressive how fast he was able to adapt to this offense. Then after that, he picked up his first win of the season against the Jags, who were in first place in their division at the time, and then of course the Bears game was absolutely crazy, and he threw for nearly 400 yards. And the Browns now have a chance to clinch the playoffs in their upcoming game against the Texans, with CJ Stroud rumored to be out, which is unbelievable to think about, and some of the guys are gonna finally start to get healthy again for the playoffs, which will be huge. And like I've said in my previous videos, if this team wins out, which is very possible, then they can get the 1 seed in the entire AFC and have a bye week, since the Ravens have a tough finish to the year. But even if they don't get that, they will most likely either face the Jags or the Colts, which are both teams that they have already beaten. And once you get past them, then they would probably face a team like the Chiefs, which have shown to be super beatable this year. And then in the AFC Championship, they would probably play the Ravens, which is also a team they beat. And the more I look at things, the Browns really have some of the most quality wins out of any team in the NFL. Like, to beat the Ravens and 49ers while having so many injuries is pretty impressive, especially the 49ers, because that was all defense. And the defense is the reason why I think the Browns truly could make a run at the Super Bowl, because they changed the game with how they can hold any defense to under 20 points. And that means the offense is always in striking range, and with how well Flacco has been playing in the 4th, it just feels like anything is possible. And I know I've said this so many times, but Myles Garrett to me is the defensive player of the year. And I know his numbers have sort of fell off over the last few weeks, but if you just watch the games, you can see his impact. First of all, he has held on pretty much every play, but the main main reason is that he's always doubled and even triple teamed, which takes away more guys from the offense and opens up things for the rest of the defensive line and even secondary. He is just one of the few players in the league that an opposing offense will solely game plan for. I'm definitely going to be interested to see what happens in this upcoming Texans game because like I said, with Stroud out, Case Keenum is expected to start, who is a former Brown and historically is a pretty accurate passer. So this is not going to be a walk in the park by any means, and Houston has tons of young talent throughout their roster. And even that Bengals game in Week 18 will be pretty difficult as well with the way Jake Browning is playing, but Cleveland just has their number, so I ain't worried about that one. So yeah, that's really all I have to say for this video. If the NFL does happen to be somehow scripted, as many conspiracy theorists say, then they couldn't have wrote a crazier one for Cleveland this season. And that's why I feel like they are just destined to go on a magical run. And can you imagine if Joe Flacco leads the team into Baltimore and eliminates them? That would be the greatest moment in Cleveland sports history outside of the 3-1 comeback. And it's not much of a stretch to say that it's a possibility too with how well the team has been playing. And it's crazy how one drop can change everything. If Darnell Mooney would have caught that Hail Mary deflection, then this team would be 8-6 and we would be talking about how they can come out of the season with a wild card spot. But since they won, we are talking about how they can potentially get a first round bye. As a 19-year-old, I know I haven't been around as long as some of you guys to see everything, but in my whole lifetime, I have only witnessed one good season from this team. So I'm just enjoying every moment of what is happening right now, and let me know in the comments below what your predictions are for the end of the season, because I feel like things are about to get absolutely wild. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point in the video, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, make sure to drop a like and subscribe because your support truly means the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next since there is just so much to talk about across the NFL. And until then, I will see you all later.